Days away and the big fish on the market, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's now ready for a new home after 12 seasons and a title in Milwaukee. And sources told ESPN Shams Charania earlier this week, the Bucks are more open to a deal in years past. And according to his sources, all of this with Giannis out indefinitely with a calf strain. Our front office insider, Bobby Marks, joins us now. So trade deadline coming on Thursday. And, of course, everyone wants to know about the future of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I understand you got a checklist for what the Bucks are looking for in a mega-type deal. What's on the list?
Yeah, it's the Giannis checklist. It's the what you need to go out and try to get a superstar. And I think from Milwaukee's perspective here, it's certainly draft equity. Draft equity in young players. Remember, this is a Milwaukee team that does not control their first-round pick to 2031. They only have 1 second available moving forward, the 5th oldest team in the NBA. The second thing is controllable contracts. You remember back when Oklahoma City acquired Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Clippers? He was on a rookie contract. The Bucks don't have any players on their roster like that, so young, controllable contracts. And then the third, expiring contracts, players that you could potentially move in another deal. Remember, Giannis is making $54 million. You got to somehow have to get close to that number here. So the expiring contracts, maybe you make another trade down the road where you can maybe move that player, maybe if it's a Jimmy Butler, for something else in the future.
So, Bobby, how many teams realistically do you think can make that happen?
You know, we have a Giannis trade guide out there. We have 11 teams out there. I think you can actually shrink that down to 4 teams. And I think when you look at Golden State is basically the easiest path to get to when you're looking at, all their unprotected draft picks here, certainly Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green. We're looking at Miami as a second team here. They have 2 first-round picks. They have young players. They have expiring contracts in Terry Rozier. Teams 3 and 4, which is Minnesota and New York, they have the players to go out and make the deal. Neither team has a first-round pick to trade here. I think those are a little bit more complicated because here's 2 teams that would basically have to trade 2 or 3 of their core players to go out and get a player like Giannis right in the middle of the season.
Okay, so with all this talk about Giannis, what about other guys teams have said they're interested in trading? Ja Morant, Anthony Davis, as we head to the trade deadlines, what do we hear about them?
Yeah, we're in a holding pattern regarding Ja Morant and Anthony Davis. Certainly the injuries, and neither Memphis or Dallas are going to give either player away. I think we're going to have to wait into the offseason to figure out what the future of both players is going to be.
Interesting. Trade deadline, of course, is Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Bobby Marks will be all
right, a happy Saturday evening. Hopefully everyone is doing great. We've got our second trade of the regular season, a 4-player deal involving Cleveland, Chicago, and Sacramento. And I figured we would do a video. It's, I guess this is the Luka Doncic anniversary video, but Luka's not involved like it was a year ago at the same time. Probably in about 45 minutes, we could probably all light a candle in honor of the Luka trade that shocked the NBA world here. Here is my trusty note card here. Shams gave me a heads up about 2 hours ago, and I was at a function for my son's school. And while everyone else was having a good time, I'm tucked away in a corner, writing my notes for this deal here. So DeAndre Hunter goes to Sacramento. Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, who we thought was the belle of the ball for trade deadline season, goes to Cleveland. Dario Saric goes from Sacramento to Chicago, and the Bulls pick up two second-round picks. They're going to waive Javon Carter to create that roster spot. So we'll kind of go through the semantics of how this works here. Hunter is got 2 years left on his deal. Is at 22.3 and 24.9. He had $1.25 million in unlikely bonuses that goes towards applies to the apron for Sacramento. In comes Schroeder and Ellis to Cleveland, 14, 1, and 2.3. That works within certainly considering Cleveland's taking back less salary here. Certainly you don't have to match there. They're taking less back. And it saves them. Their tax bill goes from 164 to 120. Really $44 million in luxury tax savings and everything like that. But I liked it for Cleveland. I thought the emergence of Jalen Tyson has really made DeAndre Hunter expendable. And Hunter is averaging, roughly around 16 points a game and everything like that. But I think what we've seen with Tyson this year, the uh, concern with Darius Garland with his injury history and the ability to get another wing with Keon Ellis, a wing that can defend. And you save, $44 million this year, close to $50 million when you add in salary. And you are close to getting under the apron, second apron this year. If you want to do that, we'll go into that in a minute. Um, I just thought this was a no-brainer. There was different variations of this. The one variation certainly could have included Malik Monk. I just didn't see why that would have made sense for Cleveland to take Monk back 2 more years after this year. Eventually, you're going to get Max Juice back, and you have Sam Merrill. How much more shooting do you actually need? So Shooter's got 14-1, 14-8, 15.5. The third year is a partial $4.3 million. Keon Ellis is on an expiring 2.3 million. Here's something to keep an eye on. As of February 9th, he's eligible to sign a 3-year, $52 million extension. You're thinking, how do you go from $2.3 million to roughly $16 million potentially in the deal? It's 120% of the estimated average player salary. So it's 120% of 13.9 million. The max years of an extension because he's traded now is 3. We'll see what happens with Ellis. If he's not, he's an unrestricted free agent. Cleveland has bird rights. They can sign him still. They can exceed the apron. There's nothing restricting you to re-sign your own players and going over the apron. From a salary standpoint this year, I think we'll pay attention to what happens with Lonzo Ball over the next few days here, especially with Cleveland getting Schroeder. Cleveland is $13.8 million over the second apron. Ball's at 10 million. And then maybe you can add, I'm just hypothetically, whether it be Thomas Bryant or Craig Porter. I'm just hypothetically. There is a pathway potentially to try to get under the second apron if that's something you want to do. If not, you've chipped away salary, considering that you are saving roughly $8-9 million next year, and it gives you more flexibility to get under next year. But as I said, I really like it for Cleveland's sake. You add some depth, and as I said, the Garland injury history this year is a bit concerning, and I like Ellis certainly defensively. From Chicago's standpoint, so Sarge is on an expiring $5.4 million salary. You're probably asking, how does this work when there's no player being traded? They created a $6.2 million Zach LaVine trade exception last year. It was about to expire on February 3rd. That will go, Sarge's number will go in there. Chicago is going to send something else back. I think it's going to be maybe one of their two-way players because they do have to send back something else. But if we're taking Sarge's salary, I have to look how much is owed. It's probably around 2.4. They pick up 2 second-round picks. It's a 2027 second from Denver. I'm just reading it off here. Where is this? 2027 Denver second, and Sacramento sending the least favorable of Detroit, Milwaukee, and New York in 2029. That's going to Chicago also. So, right place, right time. You pick up 2 future seconds. Seconds matter. If you keep on stacking them up, maybe down the road, Chicago will make a deal and they'll have to add second here. So that is let me just find out how many tradable seconds the Bulls have. Chicago's got so they got 7 tradable seconds now. It's a good deal for them. They were well below the luxury tax. They're about $14 million below. Now they're about $9 million. So Low cost move totally makes sense. If you can get pick up 2 seconds and all it's going to take on is some salary, you might as well do it. Sacramento is interesting here. I think the goal is to get younger. The Schroeder signing hasn't worked out for them. Ellis, as we said, it was on an expiring. He's been in and out of the lineup this year. You could have probably moved him for draft equity and maybe an expiring there. But you do get Hunter 23-3, 24-9. He's got 1.25 million in unlikelies. You had to trade Sarge in the deal because if you didn't, you would have been it would have been an apron violation here, and you would have been a luxury tax team also. That's why Sarge is part of the deal. But the goal with Scott Perry and BJ Armstrong is to get younger, and by trading out Schroeder for Hunter, a big wing who is giving you 16 points a game, that certainly allows you to do it. I think what's interesting with SAC, and I'm going to pull them up right now, is that they're going to need to get their finances in order next year because they will be a luxury tax team when you add in their pick. They're $9,000 below below the luxury tax. And they only have 11 players under contract. So I would think something else is coming down the pike. You can get under with DeMar DeRozan's contract. He's got a partial for next year. We will keep an eye on Sacramento in the days leading up to the trade deadline and everything like that. So that is it. That's our second trade of the regular season. I am sure more will come up this week here. I'm off to LA